Okay. Yeah. So hi, welcome to the. So we are now on the 10th. We are now on the 10th episode of the Everlast. So this is, so this is a series which we had started in the first weekend of June. Um, so so we being from Alserv, we had we had so started the series for all the elders who are at home, who are not able to visit events, who are not able to go to a movie, or who are not able to go to a program which which is happening like in their city. So we thought we will bring an interesting session all Saturdays at 5 o'clock, live on, so live like on Facebook to their homes. So like in the series, we've had, you know, so we've had like a topic on finance. We've had topics on music. We've had on dance, and we've had on cooking, and we had a chef talk. So last week we had a topic on like on finance and planning of money, and now we have another. And now we have another very like interesting guest. So who's part who's who so who's part of ESPN. Um,
So we have Gaurav Sundararaman, who's a cricket analyst. I think in India, as much as music or as much as dance or as much as any other event is, any other stream of art is entertainment, cricket is as much as that or more probably. So I think it's definitely an interesting session, and we have somebody who's somebody who is part of the day-to-day functioning of teams, part of strategies which teams do. So we would like to ask him more about the nuances of what happens behind the scenes. Welcome, Gaurav.
Hi, thank you for having me here.
Yes, absolutely. I think this is IPL season, so we should probably start off with T20 cricket. Maybe should start off saying who's going to win the IPL 2020.
I don't think there's any doubt it's Chennai Super Kings, right? So every year we think that they won't make it, they won't do well, they're too old. But every year they continue to prove as fans wrong. So it's very interesting case study of Chennai Super Kings. So even I predicted them not to make it in so many years, but somehow they have it in them. It's an amazing franchise, an amazing team to be a fan of.
Yep, absolutely. We're all Chennai Super King fans. So Gaurav, tell me, something more about what really differentiates Test cricket, one-day cricket, and T20.
Yeah, very interesting question.
Same game, right? So what changes?
So I actually tell a lot of people slowly of the last few years that T20 is a completely different sport. It's not just cricket. It's obviously a form of cricket, but it has to be looked very differently because the rules are different. One of the fundamental set of rules is that you have this 20 overs, but you have 10 wickets. You have the same set of resources across all three formats. So in Test cricket, you can play for 5 days and you still have 10 wickets. In ODI, it's 50 overs and 10 wickets, which is still quite amount of time. But in T20, it's like almost similar to what we play in street cricket. Maybe we play with 10 overs, 8 overs. This is 20 overs and you still have 10 wickets. So it has to be looked at completely differently. In fact, T20 cricket actually is the most tactical and strategic among all the three formats. In Test cricket, sometimes skill takes over. You need to have a technique. You need to have a very, very good skill. You need to be able to be patient. T20 is a complete opposite. You don't need skill as much as you need the ability to consider each ball as an event and consider to maximize each ball. So it's a very interesting sport is what I would call it compared to Test.
Like a strategy to play the game, right?
Absolutely. Like I told you slightly before, that you need a lot of strategy in T20 cricket. How to get a batsman out? How do I prevent him? We have still not reached a stage where I purposely drop a catch of a player who's batting slowly. Those are things, evolutions in a game. You will never even think about this happening in Test cricket, right? 10 years, 15, 20 years back, if I told you that I'm going to purposely drop a catch of a player A because I think it's beneficial to me, you guys will be laughing, or you'll think that I'm doing
Do you
something
think that
illegal.
anything happens in T20?
It's not yet happened because people have not changed their mindset. People are not tuned to doing that. You're not taught that way, right? It's just you've been taught all through your life to catch catches, but and I won't be surprised if that happens in the future. And similarly, if you take a batsman, he's batting very slowly, and you have a really good batsman coming into bat, but because of the overs getting over, the good batsman does not get a chance to bat. A batsman can say, boss, I can retire out, which is technically a legal form of dismissal. I can just say, I want my next batsman to come in. Interesting example about in this situation is in the 2016 T20 World Cup when India played West Indies. If you go back and look at the scorecard, Ajinkya Rahane would have played 40 balls and scored 45 runs. The whole innings, India will finish at 196 for 2. And you had Hardik Pandya, you had Suresh Raina, you had everybody sitting in the dugout. But Rahane had faced the maximum number of balls. Even till date, a lot of people look back at that match and say that Rahane was one of the reasons why India actually kind of lost that match. So this you'll never see in Test cricket or ODI cricket. 45 or 40 great innings, go back. I know my place is safe.
I don't recall that match exactly, but did West Indies drop a catch of Ajinkya Rahane?
We have to go back and look at it. It will be interesting to actually see that. But yeah, that's the kind of things we are discussing, right? The fact that we are even discussing these things is not possible in Test cricket and ODI cricket, and that's why I think this format has captured a big audience. It's only 3 hours long, and even now, a few proper fans come and tell me that T20 also middle overs is slightly boring. So I don't know what they really expect. Just watch the first 6 overs and the last 6 overs. So if they feel that about T20, imagine how it will be for Test cricket and ODI cricket. So yeah, interesting.
So how do you actually, as a fan, how do you watch a T20 match? Is there you do something differently for you to follow the strategies and things like that? Is there something which you can do on TV, or it is worth only doing it on the stadium, or how does it work?
We can definitely do it on TV. I've kind of I'm making a living doing that, so I think you can definitely do it if you follow the game closely. It's just about watching certain nuances which you may not pick up. A lot of people think T20 cricket means you just have to come slam bang, hit sixes, hit fours, and if it's slightly low scoring, if they become 30 for 5, people think that the match is boring and stuff. But what is very interesting is the T20 format actually gives rise to a lot of strategies. For example, which which bowler to bowl to a particular batsman. Where do I keep my fielder? What kind of delivery to bowl? So if you actually watch a T20 game closely, you will find that when a particular batsman comes, the captain's astute captain who has done his preparation will actually bring on a bowler who the batsman struggles against. Because even one over I give less than 3 or 4 runs in that over, I'm doing very good. Today, 7 or 8 runs in a T20 over is a good over if a bowler concedes. Imagine that in Test cricket and ODI. Our standards were so high that if you concede more than 6, it used to be considered bad and used to be dropped. So based on situation, for example, in the death over, somebody gets like the last 2-3 overs, if people concede 16 or 17, it's bad. But if people concede 11, 12, it might actually be a good over. Preventing actually some 6, prevent a boundary. So these are things to watch out for. Which bowler is brought in? Start watching the changes the captain does. It's very different. Sometimes spinner bowls the first over. What we found out traditionally is when you look at data, you will find the first over and the 7th over of a T20 match being the least productive for a batsman. The first over is people want to get their eye in.
Yeah.
Over is after the break, right? After the power play, people think that the mindset is like, okay, I think we have maximized, let's keep our wicket intact and stuff. So a lot of teams end up bowling their 5th bowler or a bowler who's not that good in the 1st or the 7th over to finish, to get rid of a over quickly. So these are things you may not realize while watching as a fan. But now that I've shared this information, next time in this IPL, please watch out for teams doing all these things.
Okay. So obviously, there's I've seen Dhoni use Ashwin every time in the first over. So
let me just interrupt you there. Whatever I tell does not apply for Dhoni. Dhoni is above everything. He's above data. He doesn't see anything. His reading of the game, his ability to understand what to do in situations, trust me, it cannot be matched by any computer, any data. So non-Dhoni examples is what, as a listener, you need to take. But yeah.
So obviously, I know you are a Dhoni fan, CSK fan, but let's say, how do you compare Dhoni and Rohit Sharma, the other more successful IPL T20 captain? He's a very data guy, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I think in terms of match preparation, T20 actually gives rise to a lot of preparation. People actually spend a lot of time in meetings. Especially Rohit Sharma and Mumbai Indians, people might think that they just come in and play. They take their game so seriously throughout the year. There's a lot of scouting happening, a lot of tactics happening. Now, for example, if the IPL is going to be shifted to UAE this year, I'm sure teams have already started preparing in terms of what kind of 11 to play, or what are the pitches there. One huge difference in cricket compared to other sports, say take baseball, is the concept of the pitch, right? Pitch is very unpredictable. You can't really quantify that. So you need to be able to adapt to different conditions in cricket. So preparation helps. Like I told you, Rohit Sharma may not be able to figure out how the pitch plays, what is the right score to score, and that he needs the help of data, whereas a Dhoni might be able to understand that by just keeping for 3 or 4 overs, he'll be able to say that, okay, this is a 160, 170 pitch, and let's not go for 200 and fall short. So stuff like that. So preparation is very, very important in T20 format. And it's not just about the 11, it's about who to send when, which bowler to bowl at which juncture. So all these things play a big role. Another example, another interesting example which you'll never see in Test cricket or ODI cricket is what Kolkata Knight Riders did with Sunil Narine. They sent for the last 2 years. They said, we don't care about your wicket. You get out first ball, or you get out in the fifth ball, or score even 50 and come. We don't care, because we are wasting you down. So anything Narine does is a bonus. And when you actually look at data and keep quantifying KKR's performance, you will find that Narine has maximum impact for them. Whenever he does well, the team wins. So these are all interesting things which you will never find in the other longer formats.
Very interesting. Okay. To speak a little more about the IPL this year, like it's going to be, it's going to be, like not here, and the fans are not going to be there, like at the ground. So, so now that we, so like everybody is going to watch on TV, so what else do you think that we as fans can look at the match to watch it in your eyes or through your eyes?
I think for starters, we get to focus on the game a lot more. If there's no crowd, I don't think it. True cricket fans are obviously coming to watch the cricket. So if matches are getting close and matches are with the top stars are playing, I think even if there's no crowd, I don't think it makes much of a difference watching it. Yes, the experience will be something new, but like most other things now in the current times, we'll tend to adapt and we'll tend to adjust and we'll tend to watch without crowd. So I think as from a crowd perspective, at least me, as a hardcore cricket fan, I don't think that's going to make much of a difference in watching. In fact, this allows you to focus on the game more, and you can see field settings, you can see other things when they show. But the funny part is, because there's no crowd, I guess we're going to see more and more ads. And remember the good old days of Doordarshan, where you will miss the first ball and the last ball due to the ads. It might be something similar that in this IPL, but I'm pretty sure that we'll get to see 6 balls at least.
But for the players also, they say that that they have that there is say like so some amount of like of a kick they get because of the noise they make. That is going to so since we don't have that, uh, so like so like how is that going to like affect players, or will it?
I've No, so I've actually asked this to a couple of people, and I think it might affect them initially. But now that there's absolutely no cricket for so long, and they just want to get out and play, I think they'll have to change their mind, especially for cricketers who have hardly played. Uh, I would say Ranji Trophy, or not played in a scenario where there isn't any crowd. If they played for last 6 7 years with crowd, it is definitely very very hard to motivate themselves. That gives them a big kick to play. That is a big mindset change, but it's the same for everybody. So I think that way it kind of evens out. So uh, it is difficult, but I'm sure they'll find a way to focus more on the game. But as for us, also it'll take time, but I'm sure we'll get used to it.
Gaurav,
If you actually, just to add on to the point, if you actually watch Test cricket now, most venues you don't see crowds at all. So I think they just have to think that we're playing Test match. Other than England and Australia, you get good crowds, but otherwise you just imagine you're playing a Test match and just play.
Gaurav, talking of mindset, how has your mindset changed from the days when you were a cricket enthusiast to the day today when you are a cricket analyst and somebody who's doing so much of work with the fans, with the team, with the players, doing broadcasting analysis and all of that? How has it changed?
It's a very good question. So when I entered the industry, people did scare me a little bit. They said that once you start analyzing, you would stop being a fan. You will not be able to enjoy the game. Luckily, it's been 8 years. I have still managed to have that enthusiasm and enjoyment in watching this game, both as a fan and analytically. So I try to compartmentalize both. If I know for the fact that this is something important to me, if I've given some analysis, I'm looking out for that, yes, then I'm focused on that. But if I'm not done, not very invested in terms of analysis for a particular team or a particular match, I watch it as a fan. And I think maybe the drive to go to a stadium and watch as a fan has come down. But even if I go to a stadium and watch a match, I feel that I'm starting to look for more things in the field, etc. So I remember going for the CSK RCB match last year in Bangalore, and all I was focused on was seeing Dhoni's captaincy, seeing the kind of field he's setting, how he's actually leading the troops. So that maybe I wouldn't have done if I was watching as a fan. Doing the Mexican waves, etc., would have been more of my focus. So yes, definitely there's some change, but I've not got like really affected. Like I don't not enjoy the game. I still enjoy it a lot more.
So why don't you also tell us a little bit about what happened? How did you change your career? You're an engineer, MBA. How did it change from being a business analyst to a cricket analyst?
So it's a very different journey. It's not like I went out to be in this field. I've been, I'm sure you guys are aware that our entire family is cricket crazy. My brother and a lot of people within the family watch a lot of cricket. We keep discussing this. So I keep telling a lot of people about one theory. There's a person, an author called Malcolm Gladwell, who says that a theory called 10,000 hour theory. If you do something for 10,000 hours, you'll become an expert in this. I keep telling people I watched cricket for 10,000 hours. I've been watching a lot of cricket all over my life from 1992. You'll be surprised. I still remember that 92 and 96 World Cup more than what happened last year in England. So that's the kind of passion with which I watch. So when I used to go to school, I used to miss a lot of cricket. My grandfather, I used to tell him, whatever happens, I can't wait for the newspaper. Please write down the scorecard in a paper and go. so that I can come back and I'll know who is out, who's got the wickets, etc. So that was the level at which me and my brother used to watch, and I was lucky to have him to discuss and to kind of constantly be watching these games, right? So we ended up watching a lot, discussing a lot, and that's how my passion for the game started. And then it's been there all the time. To actually get into sports was more being at the right place, being lucky, and trying to and making that one extra decision, a slightly risky decision at juncture in my life, which I think I don't regret today. But that's one decision I took, where I had to take up a sports job in Chennai. And again, I tell a lot of people I was lucky to be in Chennai, because most of the sports jobs, especially the field I am in, are either the jobs are in Chennai or Bangalore. So I was lucky to be there, and I was lucky to be living at home. So financially, I was okay. My wife was working, and I didn't have to do a lot of sacrifices in that aspect. A lot of people, youngsters who are watching and who keep asking me, I'm sure they have a lot of financial challenges. So to actually take up a sports job, so I had to take up a 200, 300% pay cut to actually come and initially to go and take up a sports job. So that was a decision I took, and it just happened by chance. And I made sure I kind of finished my complete academics. I finished my undergrad, I finished my postgrad. So worst case, if sports didn't work out, I still had a backup to go to. So these are some of the small decisions I took at various junctures, and that kind of helped me. So the opportunity presented itself, and I just took it. So I wouldn't say I wanted to be in sports. It just happened, and I felt that it was better than what I was doing that time. To be very honest, I had no clue what I was doing for 1 year after my MBA. Just sitting in front of a laptop and trying to analyze storage servers and trying to make the environment more green. So that's exactly what I was doing, and thankfully I moved.
No, I think interesting. I think very interesting. So how has been how was the career progress from what you are doing in Chennai to what you are today doing in ESPN? How was it different? I think access is very different today. You rub shoulders with cricket greats today.
Absolutely. So, but the first 4 or 5 years was the foundation. I think without that, the next 4 years at ESPN wouldn't have been possible, because I kind of did a lot of things in that company. I worked for a company called Sports Mechanics in Chennai, and they work with Indian team. They work with various IPL franchises. So the kind of work you do there is, and the exposure you get is completely different from what you will get in any other job. So the first 3-4 years were more of understanding the ecosystem, understanding sports, understanding what works, what doesn't work. How do I fit in there? It's a bunch of lot of ex sportsmen who may have not made it big in their career. So the industry is filled with such people. So how does a person from a non cricket background actually fit in? It took me about 3-4 years to figure out figure out what works, what does not work. Thankfully, I had a good analytical background, so that kind of helped. You get to do a lot of different jobs in the previous stint. And when you move to ESPN, which is a predominantly Cricinfo, is a site which serves content for fans. Like we started this discussion, ability to understand T20, ability to understand how to serve the right set of information to fans is something which I wanted to do, and I wanted to work for a bigger brand as well. So ESPN, as all of you know, is obviously a much bigger brand. So I did have to make that next sacrifice of not working with teams as such in close proximity, and trying to work with fans and supplying different kind of content. So some things, if you ask me about my career progression, I would say it's grown in multiple ways, in terms of networking, in terms of financially, in terms of also understanding how the sport works, and also creating a niche for myself. So what I realized was, a lot of us, including me, are hardcore Test cricket fans, and a lot of people like to watch Test cricket, even though we don't get the time these days. We are spoiled for options. We want to watch only when the match gets close and stuff like that. But in my heart, I still love to watch a day of Test cricket. But I realized that the market does not have too many T20 experts, too many people who understand the T20 game. So I tried to create a niche for myself. So which is why I think that's kind of worked in my favor so far. And my general advice to people is to keep innovating and keep creating a niche, because the boundary line is constantly going to keep changing and you need to adapt. Tomorrow, ideally, I think the time when we're speaking now should have been the launch of the 100 over the last 10, 15 days, a new format which is supposed to be 100 balls. So they've moved from T20 to the 100, and now it's not happening this year. But who knows, 10 years down the line, 100 will be what all of us are watching. So
give us a few strategies which you've given, which worked. How did it happen? It'll be interesting for us to listen to that, if you can.
Sure. I'll give you a couple of examples. One which is very close to my heart is I was lucky to be a consultant for the West Indies team, which won the World Cup in India, T20 World Cup. So though I was not directly traveling with the team because it was a very last minute deal, I was always on the phone conducting their team meetings. So one reason they wanted a person from India to be hired is because they wanted to have local knowledge. So about the venue, about...
Oh, I think power. Oh no, I think his power is gone.
We'll just wait for a minute for him to join.
Yeah,
we're back.
Yeah, Gaurav?
Yeah, sorry, the Bangalore power cut has...
your voice is not...
The Bangalore power cut
audible,
has failed, has ditched me now. So anyway, hope...
Gaurav? Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, now
you're
back. Power was a problem, I think.
Yeah, power is a problem. I'm on data. I should be back on Wi-Fi in a couple of minutes. So
go ahead. Yeah.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes, you are audible.
Okay, so when I was working for them, when I was working for them, one of the key strategies which worked was I don't expect everybody to remember this, but one of the key strategies against the game against South Africa was that South Africa players had a few left-handers and they were very weak against spin. So if you see West Indies, and that too against off spin, not even leg spin. West Indies had a great leg spinner in Samuel Badri, but they didn't have any off spinner. But we found that South Africa were very weak against off spinners, and they were tending to struggle a lot. And West Indies didn't have an off spinner. So if you actually look at that World Cup now, go back and look, only in that match, Chris Gayle would have bowled. And he actually got 2 wickets, and he bowled very tight, and in fact bowled early on as well. Nobody expected Chris Gayle to bowl. He was not a very frequent bowler that time, and they didn't have an off spinner, so they had to use Gayle to bowl, and it worked in their favor. They did get wickets, and they did go on to win the match later. So as a fan, you might be wondering like why randomly Chris Gayle is being bowled. So that was a very interesting strategy which worked like a dream. And sometimes these strategies don't work also. So I shouldn't be, usually we end up narrating all the good incidents where it works. So it doesn't mean it's always rosy, but yeah, in this case, it worked. The other interesting example is about Carlos Brathwaite, who scored 4 sixes. Remember that? One of the great T20 finishes. He scored 4 consecutive sixes against England in the final. So it's obviously not much to do with analytics as such, but the kind of information which the batsman had before the match actually kind of helps them. So if you look at, again, you asked me a question early on about from television, from what do you observe in a T20 game, right? So one thing which is very important, which you don't get to see much, is the ground dimension. Is the kind of which part of the ground is closer to the where the batsman is batting, which side to target. So if you look at that match, when the 20th over was bowled by Ben Stokes, the leg side boundary was much shorter. It was much closer. So he had to, the leg side boundary was much farther. So the batsman knew that the bowler is going to try to make the batsman hit on the farther side. So, which is why if you see those deliveries now, go back to YouTube and see those deliveries. They were trying to bowl to his legs to make him hit on the larger side. That information was communicated to all the team members way before the match started. So, as a outsider, these things don't sometimes, as a cricketer, these things don't stick in your mind. But since this information was there, at least the batsman knows that, okay, they might do something like this. They are Yorker bowlers. So let me try targeting that. So as a batsman, you're prepared to hit. Ultimately, though, he has to execute. It's not easy to execute what he actually did that day. So I would even take, I would not take even 1% credit for that. But the fact that he had that information is something I feel was maybe not there 10 years ago.
Hey, you've also worked with the so West Indies League as well. How is that very different to the IPL and with respect to your strategies which you had given?
Great. So I'm back on Wi-Fi now. I think it should be a lot better. So can you just repeat that question, Atul?
No, you had, so you had done some work with the,
CPL.
West Indies, yeah, CPL.
Yeah, so so how is that different to the IPL with respect to a strategy?
Great question. So one thing I've realized is countries like the Caribbean, which I can talk a lot about because that's where I worked quite a bit. They don't have access to this kind of technology, information, and the kind of stuff that other teams like Australia, South Africa, England, and India have. So for them, any basic information also was very useful. They take in this information a lot. They use it a lot. So a lot of us will be thinking that they just come in to the game without much preparation and they just come and hit sixes, right? It's not the case. They kind of they get involved in strategy. They really like strategy. So it really depends on the person. So if the captain, so unlike football or unlike American sports where there's a manager and coach who calls the shots, cricket is a completely different sport where the captain calls all the shots. The coach just involved in more man management, etc. So and technical aspects, but the captain is the one who makes the decision. So you need to have a good rapport with the captain to make those strategies. So in the CPL or in the Caribbean, I found out that a lot of people liked all these things. They started liking these strategies. They didn't know that, wow, data can actually showcase certain strategies. Video and a combination of data and video is so powerful to actually figure out which batsman to play, which bowler to bring, what kind of field to set. These are things which you can pick up. So a very interesting nugget was told to me by the great Desmond Haynes in the Caribbean. He told me to watch out for something in the field for all the players, which I would have never ever thought to see on TV or even as an analyst. He said, see how many steps the fielder takes to throw the ball after he collects it. So if you actually start looking, there are certain fielders who take 3 or 4 steps before which they throw the ball. There are certain fielders like, may say, Jadeja, Maxwell, the great fielders who throw the ball immediately. So these are small things, but they make a big difference between getting a run out and not getting a run out. So then I realized, oh, that's a data point to be captured. Today, nobody's even capturing that data point. So I started looking at this thing. So you learn different things. In IPL, it's a lot different. IPL is a lot of known players. Lot of players know about each other, whereas in the Caribbean, a lot of players don't know about each other. So I think more value can be got when you don't have much knowledge about your players. That's where data plays a bigger role than say how to get a Kohli out or how to get a AB de Villiers out.
Yeah. No, I guess no, we have a lot of people watching today, a lot of new people watching today. So I thought I should give a little bit of background about Alserv as we go on. Alserv is a platform which is right now in Chennai servicing seniors services which they need for them at home. This is an alternate to the people, senior people moving now to retirement communities. We come with a platform where we are able to provide seniors help for them at home. I just wanted to give you a brief on also, and as part of Alserv's initiative, Everlast, which we are doing today, is one of the episodes which we do to just provide information and entertainment on different topics as we go along. This is our 10th week which we are doing, and we have so far done a few different topics, starting with classical music to movie songs to instrumental to yoga to fitness. So very different dance program. So we did a different set of, last week we had a finance program. So it was all different topics, and we want to provide as much information, knowledge, as well as entertainment to seniors who are watching this program. So that's the idea. Thanks, Gaurav. Just wanted to move on. I wanted to ask you, you've dealt with so many different cricketing greats. Why don't you tell us some stories about what you've done with, or how you've interacted, how you have benefited from some of the interaction with greats?
I think one thing I've learned is generally that I don't. Not many people like to talk about cricket as much as what we think they do, and when they actually come for such shows and when they come to these studios, they like to be off cricket for as much as time as possible. So I tend to not discuss too much of cricket, but being a fan and having watched all these people growing up, I try to pull out a lot of anecdotes from their playing days. I try to kind of interact with them more about the future of the game. I try to tap into their knowledge as much as possible whenever I get the time, rather than spending a lot of time talking cricket. I realized that a lot of people prefer doing non-cricket stuff in the time. So it's just the fact that I would say learning more, validating certain thoughts of mine, validating certain instincts of mine. Like I gave an example, right, about the whole concept of retired out and dropping a catch. Not one cricketer will ever accept that's a valid thing to do, because it obviously hurts their skill, their ego, and a lot of things. You don't want to be seen like that. But there are some coaches, one or two, for example, who are very forward thinking, who might think that, yeah, that's possible. So I try to validate these kind of ideas with them and try to see if whether I'm going on the right track. So it's more a personal validation I do, apart from all the fan related things and fan related incidents. Like if certain incidents has happened earlier, I would like to ask them if it really happened. If I heard some news as a myth, I would like to ask them if it's really a myth or not. So like I'll give you a very interesting story with Michael Hussey. You know, he was one of guests in our show, and he's a great guy. He talks to you for hours together, and he used to tell us about how Dhoni captains, how Dhoni is in the field, how he is emotional after all. There will be times when he does get a bit irritated about the game, but you can easily find out. He said, as a team, you will know when he is angry. As a he like you know that when what he does, and the teams understand themselves. So he, as a leader, he kind of, without really emoting with words, he kind of showcases what he wants to do. And before the World Cup semi-final in 2015, Hussey was actually working with the South African team as a coach. So he was telling them. So I was generally asking him. We always associate South Africa with failing at big moments. Why does that happen and stuff? And he used to tell us that when I was with Australia in 2000, when Hussey was in Australia with 2007 and Hussey in 2015, how the way they prepared the game, they were very tensed. And he could see that the confidence level was not at the highest of what it has to be. So small incidents like that, which these are things which I can share, and there are lots which obviously I can't share. But yeah, these are some of the funny things. But I try to learn as much as possible, and I use the time more judiciously.
I know you've always been a big Australia fan, and even then, Mike Hussey comes out instead of others. But and I know CSK is a continuation, probably because of the yellow jersey. But are you still an Australia fan, or have you changed now?
So very interesting story. So my first or second assignment in my first job, Australia toured India, and we were working for the Indian team. So my entire job was to actually prepare a deck of all the weaknesses of Australia batsmen and figure out a way by which India can dismiss Australia and do. And Australia lost 4-0 that year in India in 2013. So I it was the first tricky assignment for me, and then I realized how we have to keep professional and personal things away. And I still support Australia. So I'm not able to get that out of my ecosystem. So yeah, I do support Australia a lot.
Interesting. So so we wanted to know like a little bit of how the players are doing, like in this time of lockdown. So like are they, like are they, so like so do they have more time to look at, do they have more time to look at the kind of work which you are doing and all that?
I think they all like to zone out and they just train and they just focus. To be honest, analytics is a very small part of a cricketer's life. It's a very small thing. It's just that during the field, just before the match, there are certain cricketers who like to use this and have an edge. There are certain coaches, there are certain teams which want to have that edge, and they're the ones who use it more. So it, like any of us, if a cricketer actually follows all this and reads more, he's likely to become a better cricketer. He'll be armed with more information. So it's only going to be a boon. So if they're not watching or not reading stuff, I would urge them to do so, because it's only going to give them an edge than competitors.
So Gaurav, quick question: Is a ex-cricketer more suited to be a cricket analyst, or somebody like you who is probably not a professional cricketer, but somebody who's done a lot more work in this field? Who's more effective as an analyst? Who gives better tips?
So I think a neutral perspective is good, because you have too many people talking technique, etc. You have the coach to talk technique. So if I was a former cricketer, there's a good chance that I start focusing too much on the technical aspect of the game and not on the analytical aspect, not on data and strategy. So I think a mix is, if somebody is a cricketer and has the ability to read numbers and interpret data and make a decision, then that's the dream scenario. But to be honest, that scenario is very little. I don't see too many people doing that. And we have coaches, etc., who focus on the technical aspect. So as an analyst, it's better to come from an outside perspective. The other reason is we get to watch more, right? Being from outside, we get to watch more. As a cricketer, you're constantly traveling, you're always with the team, and you don't get to watch the other matches. I think you need to watch a lot of cricket. You need to see which players are doing well to add value. You need to remember things about dismissals. You need to, even for scouting, if I don't watch CPL at all, I will never be able to gauge which player is likely to do well in the IPL, for example. So I think being from outside helps a lot.
So have you worked with IPL teams in terms of team selection?
I've been part of a IPL auction with RCB. So I haven't been involved in actually selecting 11 or anything. But with RCB in 2015, I had the opportunity of working with them in an auction. And that was a great experience, because it was a mini auction. And we had to, like RCB had to pick a couple of players, 2-3 players, in fact, in their squad. And it was a good exercise, great exercise to understand how much they value database selection, how much they go by instinct. And I realized what they do, and I realized the workaround for that. So I told them to go with their own picks first. And if it fails, I asked them to come to plan B, which is my pick. And it just so happened there were other teams who kind of outbid RCB in their picks, and they came back to database selection. So it works sometimes, it doesn't. But one thing I've learned in this industry is I don't attach myself to results or outcomes, because as an analyst, you're not executing anything. You're just giving an information and validating certain instincts, certain thoughts, but you're not going out there and playing. So if I select a player, doesn't mean that he'll surely perform. And if he fails or he performs, I don't think it's like, it doesn't mean anything. It really doesn't mean anything in terms of me as a person. So that's something a lot of people tend to get attached to the results. So you will get lots wrong, you will get lots right. And as long as it's logical and there's some method to your madness of selecting players, I think it's fine.
We have a question from so Santosh. Do players focus more on video analysis or numbers and data?
again, it's very individual driven. Each person has, some people have the ability to read numbers, some people don't. Some people prefer video. From my experience, visual memory is the best for sportsmen. So even if I analyze everything in data, I try to show that in video. So I prefer showing 80-90% of the insights I have through video, and data will be more useful for strategies like what to do if you win the toss, what is the past score in this pitch, uh, uh, how does somebody approach their first 10 balls in an innings. For these kind of things, maybe I look at data, but 80-90% of the sportsmen prefer video.
Okay.
Interesting. Well, I guess now I want to probably ask you, different. Obviously, I want to come back to Dhoni and Dhoni versus Rohit. Tell me something which an incident, if you have, probably where Dhoni would have reacted a certain way and Rohit would have reacted a different way, based on data versus instinct.
I think in a lot of aspects that I've seen that happening in terms of like even last season, Sunil Narayan had a great record against spin. He usually smashes spin for sixes at ease, whereas pace bowlers, somebody who bowls fast, who bowls at his bouncers at his head, he tends to struggle. And it was a very clear pattern. But to everybody's surprise, Dhoni brought in Harbhajan Singh and he actually got Narayan out. So that is something completely opposite of what data will tell you. Whereas Rohit, if you go back and again, those who are very interested in these things can go back and see scorecards of Mumbai Indians versus KKR matches. Almost, I think 100% of the occasions I remember, it used to be a fast bowler coming, bowling bouncers at Narayan and getting out. So Rohit went by the tee and it worked. But Dhoni also works. So, like I say, it's not always, if the data can make all the decisions, you don't need players to play. So, some things work, some things does not work. So, like I said, Dhoni reads the game far superior to a lot of other people.
Yep.
And like the other example I can think of is the 19th over of a T20 game. Sometimes that is supposed to be the most important over than the 20th over. So you will see Rohit most of the time bringing Bumrah or bringing his best bowler in the 19th over trying to win the game. Whereas you will see Dhoni maybe even if he feels, sometimes I've seen spinners also bowl. We've seen Joginder Sharma bowl. We've seen so many different people bowl. So it's up to him. Whoever he feels that day is able to handle pressure, he brings them on. So both work. One has 3 titles, the other has 4 titles, and two of those titles were by 1 run. So it's just not, there's no right approach and there's not a big difference, I feel.
Okay.
Yeah, Gaurav, I think it's been an interesting, very interesting set of conversations. It's been also the IPL season. IPL is coming, so we thought we should have something on cricket, and and we know a lot of people who are watching, or also people who have watched cricket for 20, 30 years. We may not be the 10,000 hours which you said, but we've all watched enough cricket. So everybody is a big fan of cricket in any case. So I think it's been a very interesting session. We really enjoyed this conversation. Thank you so much, Gaurav, for your time and for all the information that you shared with us.
And we will
Thanks
catch
a lot.
on the 15th of August with another interesting guest.
Thanks a lot for having me.
Thank you.
Thank you, Gaurav. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.